The Digital Production Buzz is brought to you by Shutterstock.com and by Otherworld Computing.
Rolling! Action!
Since the dawn of digital filmmaking,
Authoritative.
one show serves a worldwide network of media professionals,
Current.
uniting industry experts,
Production.
filmmakers,
Post-production.
and content creators around the planet.
Distribution.
From the media capital of the world in Los Angeles, California, the Digital Production Buzz goes live now.
And welcome to the Digital Production Buzz, the world's longest-running podcast for creative content producers covering media production, post-production, marketing, and distribution around the world. Hi, my name is Larry Jordan, and joining us is our co-host, the ever-affable Mr. Mike Horton.
Hello, everybody.
We start this week's show with Brad Malcolm. He's the president of Athentech Imaging, Inc., and they've created a product called Perfectly Clear.
And it's cool.
That automates the process of correcting and improving still images and also has uses for video producers.
Cameras have physical limitations. They have a single aperture, which acts much different than the way the human eye works, which is constantly and dynamically dilating so that you can always manage all the incoming light. So everything you see with your eye looks great. You snap a picture in a single point in time, and that's why you have exposure issues. That's why you have noise issues. So we overcome those things.
Then, last week, the Buzz was in London attending the BVExpo. During the show, we interviewed Rodrigo Thomaz, a product and training specialist for Audio-Technica. In this interview, recorded at the show, he showcases new wireless products and shares his thoughts on how to pick a mic for your next project.
You do have a microphone range for instance, the Artist Elite, that if you're onto a recording studio, let's say if I'm recording vocals, a vintage vocal or a more pop vocal, we do have microphones catered for that as well. For instance, a 4047 microphone. It has a very nice vintage sound, but I can have a pop sort of singer that wants a very crispy sound. May I suggest a 4040 or 4050 microphone? Those microphones are microphones that are being sometimes unchanged for about 20 years, and they are very, very good quality, and people have been using these all over the world, so they're very popular. So it's good to have a chunky catalog. It's hard work for us in tech support. However, for the end user, it's great because you can pinpoint. I have a lady here that came looking for a specific microphone for a violin. So we have a 2031 mic, which was designed for strings only. So it's very specific. So we like to do that, to be very specific about our mics, so we can have a lot of mics for a lot of applications.
Then we turn our attention from production to post with a conversation with Kevin McAuliffe. Kevin is a senior editor with Extreme Reach Toronto and an Avid community leader. He has close to 20 years of Media Composer experience, and we talk with him tonight about what's new with Media Composer.
The one thing that's very tempting about Final Cut, and don't get me wrong, it's, a lot of editors say, I can get in there and I can, cut circles around you, and that's great and everything. But one thing I always tell all Final Cut editors, because Final Cut is now, it is a different beast than it used to be, and I say beast in the most respective terms. So what I always tell Final Cut editors is that you might be the best Final Cut editor, Final Cut Pro 10 editor in the world, but you better get out there and you better learn Media Composer, because Avid is entrenched in a lot of production facilities, especially in LA, especially on the bigger productions. And if you want to get in on those productions, it's not like I said back in the day where I know Final Cut, so Avid works very similar. It's a very different workflow now. So, get out there, and if you want to get into these facilities that have Avid, make sure you know it backwards, forwards, upside down. And, a lot of people, I always hear people, talk about, the rigidity of Avid. I don't like, Media Composer because it's very, I don't have the flexibility that I have in other applications. But I actually kind of tell people that, believe it or not, that's a blessing in disguise. Because one thing I always tell people, when they go in to set their project up, people immediately always think that when they're setting their project up, they're setting it up to how their footage was shot. And I tell people, I say, don't think that. Think of how you're setting your project up as to what the final file that you're going to deliver to your client is. If you think that way, and you're bringing in media, because again, much like in Premiere, much like in Final Cut, you can bring in any type of media into your Media Composer timeline to work with, but that Media Composer timeline is fixed to what you're going to be delivering at the very end of your production. So if you remember that, Media Composer is essentially kind of giving you the road to drive down and saying, this is the way you're going to drive so that no matter what happens, you're going to get to the destination the way that you need to.
We spent a lot of time talking with Premiere people and with Final Cut people, and it's nice to hear the Avid folks chip
It's
in.
more nice to hear that he just doesn't give a damn about the war anymore.
These highlights are from the Digital Production Buzz on March 5th, 2015. To watch the entire show, visit digitalproductionbuzz.com.